My name is Alex. At 34, single, I've come to realize that I've been the ultimate doormat for everyone around me. You know, the type that individuals step on when entering, overlook, and then accuse of bringing in grime throughout the home. It's strange to come to terms with the fact that you've dedicated your whole adult life to portraying the responsible kid in a family comedy you never tried out for. A comedy series where the joke never changes. Let's put everything we have into this for Brandon. My younger sibling is Brandon. At 29, he finds himself in a perpetual state of unemployment, confidently labeling himself a visionary. He remains convinced that his YouTube channel, boasting a modest 17 subscribers, mostly bots or family, will eventually evolve into a multi-million-dollar media empire. He shares a new video every couple of months. It's typically him discussing entrepreneurial energy and dominant frequencies. It's the sort of thing that makes someone like Joe Rogan seem like an intellectual. During our childhood, I always believed that Brandon was simply someone who would come into his own a bit later. He frequently found himself in trouble at school, consistently avoided doing his homework, and even attempted to construct a treehouse by nailing together a collection of old cereal boxes. My parents referred to it as imaginative resourcefulness. He's simply exploring new perspectives, Alex. Mother observed as her little one built a precarious tower of frosted flakes, all sticky with glue, right there on the grass. I was quite different. Top of the class, juggling a job at 16, secured a full scholarship for college, and has a flawless record without even a parking ticket. I once reached out to my mom to express my regret for receiving an A-. She remarked, "Perhaps next time you'll achieve an A." That was simply the way things were in our home. Brandon was the visionary. I was the one doing the work. And can you believe which one they believed would transform everything? Heads up, it wasn't the one with the retirement plan. Now, leap ahead 10 years. After college, I returned to town for a short while. Just a few months, I assured myself, to assist my parents following my father's minor surgery. That was quite some time ago. In some way, I always remained. I landed a job close by, secured my own cozy apartment, yet found myself at their place nearly every weekend mowing the lawn, running errands, fixing leaky faucets, and stepping in for Brandon, who was meant to assist, but was always caught up in meetings. One time, I entered one of his meetings and discovered him in his room, engrossed in a scene where an anime character was savoring ramen in slow motion. However, I did not express anything. It seems that's what I'm all about. I remained silent. I simply continue to handle what's necessary, much like a versatile solution that holds everything together. Then arrived the testament. I didn't anticipate any celebration. I'm not that gullible. However, I certainly didn't anticipate sitting in my parents' living room and hearing my mom, without a hint of emotion, declare that they had chosen to leave everything to Brandon. He possesses an incredible amount of potential. I blinked. 1 time. 2 times. I wondered if I had misunderstood her. "So, you're saying we're dividing it up and he's getting the house?" I inquired, my voice taking on that peculiar, serene quality it adopts when I'm too shocked to feel any anger. Father shook his head. "Absolutely not, my boy. We encompass it all. Home, finances, vehicles. We had a discussion about it. You'll be all right. You consistently are." I merely remained seated. My parents, whom I've been there for in every way possible, including emotionally, physically, and financially, due to their mortgage skyrocketing after they refinanced to assist Brandon in his crypto ventures, just informed me that since I'm doing well, I don't require anything. Give that a moment to sink in. I've been contributing to their mortgage for years. Decades. Due to Brandon's constant bouncing of checks, my parents were unable to manage all the expenses on their limited income. And now, everything was being offered to him, because he could achieve great things in the future. He's got that special something, Mom said. He simply requires the proper encouragement. I'm unsure about the kind of spark she was referring to. The sole moment of excitement for Brandon came when he attempted to create a DIY flamethrower using a hairspray can and a lighter. Indeed, absolutely. And no, I didn't hold him back. Some lessons are best learned through small setbacks. I chose not to engage in a debate. I did not raise my voice. I remained completely silent. I simply got up, stepped out of that place, and didn't glance back. For weeks on end. However, let me point this out. My automatic payments were never canceled. Each month, without fail, $700 continued to be deducted from my account. gliding smoothly into their mortgage like a devoted little employee diligently fulfilling their duties. Initially, it escaped my attention. My thoughts were occupied with other matters. I relocated to a different part of the city, severed many connections, and made the choice to focus on my own life. I have a dog, a mixed breed named Larry who believes the vacuum is his arch nemesis and sleeps as if he's got a leash to uphold. I finally enrolled in pottery classes, something I've always wanted to explore but never found the time for due to my busy schedule as the family handyman, banker, and therapist. One day, while I was reviewing my bank account for another matter, I noticed the charge, the mortgage payment, still processing, still contributing to the family that had just cast me aside for being too capable. I gazed at the transaction for quite some time. Then I chuckled, in a clear voice, amidst the expanse of a grocery store parking area. Naturally, they hadn't called it off. Naturally, they thought I would continue to pay without question, even after explicitly stating that my worth was determined by my lack of neediness. It felt as if they believed I was a personal finance robot, tirelessly cleaning up their monetary messes. You press a button, it continues to function, and occasionally you clear out the small container of hopes. That was the moment the fury truly took hold. Not heated, but a booming fury. No, this was frigid, deliberate. I preferred to avoid raising my voice, insisting, or causing a disturbance. I had the desire to view. I went ahead and canceled the auto payment. Silently, without any notice. No text, no phone call. Simply a quiet, pleasing snap. The sort of sound you picture echoing at the conclusion of a film sequence when the antagonist comes to the grim realization of their defeat. And then I lingered. Time drifted by. Quietude. Not a peep from them. I began to wonder if they had come to a conclusion and chose not to pursue it further. Perhaps they had too much pride. Or perhaps too embarrassed. Or perhaps, just perhaps, Brandon had finally risen to the occasion and embraced some accountability. Suddenly, my phone started ringing. It was my mother. I gazed at the screen as if it were possessed. It had been a while since we last exchanged words after everything that happened. My thumb lingered just above the screen. And for reasons I still can't quite grasp, I answered the call. "Alex," she remarked. Her voice was taut, fragile, as if she were making a concerted effort to avoid sounding alarmed. "It appears there is an issue with the mortgage." I nearly smiled. "What type of issue?" I inquired, maintaining a calm, courteous, and supportive tone. "The manner in which I have always done things." Indeed, she paused for a moment. Unfortunately, we did not complete the last payment. It didn't succeed. We reached out to the bank, and they informed us that the account had been closed. "Alas," I exclaimed. "That sounds quite challenging." A lengthy silence ensued. I could sense her breath. "Text, I have no idea what occurred," she remarked after a moment, attempting to keep her tone light. "Has there been a shift with your account?" I allowed the quiet to linger for a moment beyond the usual. Then I proclaimed, "Oh, I thought that since Brandon was getting the house, he might want to begin preparing for the responsibilities that come along with it." The silence was palpable. The stillness on the other end was palpable. Entangled. My mom remained silent for nearly half a minute. And then she ended the call. I haven't received any word from her since then. However, that was not the conclusion. Not even close. Approximately 2 days later, Brandon made a call. I hadn't had a word with him since prior to the entire situation. Not a text. This is not a meme. Not a single one of those enigmatic Instagram stories where he captures himself gazing out the window while reciting quotes from a tech visionary. To be honest, I was completely unaware that his number was still in my contacts. I gazed at the screen, contemplating whether to let it ring to voicemail. Yet, curiosity can lead to perilous paths. It's like teasing a sleeping giant to hear its roar. I responded. "Hey, Alex," he said, his voice slightly more cheerful than usual. It seemed as though he was attempting to appear nonchalant, yet it was evident that he had practiced this routine beforehand. "Greetings," I stated, maintaining a calm demeanor. Respectful. The manner in which individuals communicate with support agents and former partners. "Well, you know, my mom mentioned there's a problem with the mortgage." "Indeed. Let's get right to the point." "No. How have you been doing?" "Negative. Thank you for shouldering the weight of the whole family for the past 10 years. "Absolutely nothing." "Indeed, I mentioned it. The payment has been canceled. As you're the one who will be taking over the house, it just didn't seem fair for me to continue covering the expenses." There was a profound stillness. an unusual sort of stillness, as if the cogs in his mind were whirring at an uncontrollable pace, threatening to burn out. "Hold on, you called it off." "Indeed. Why would you do that?" he inquired, as though I had just confessed to setting fire to a masterpiece. "Because," I said with a measured tone, "you're receiving the house. The mortgage is an integral aspect of the home. It's not possible to choose one while disregarding the other. But that's not how we expected you to keep covering it. You have consistently done so." Oh no. He genuinely believed I would continue to cover the costs. For an unspecified duration. For a residence that isn't mine. For those who excluded me from their plans as if I were just a mistake. I inhaled deeply. "Brandon, what would be the point of continuing to support something that doesn't provide me with any advantages?" "Because you're the one who always takes charge," he exclaimed, and I almost found it amusing. "You consistently handle everything with great attention. You've secured the position, built up your savings, and tackled all that tedious grown-up stuff. I'm out here working on creating something meaningful. Do you not understand that?" "What are you attempting to create?" I inquired. "Your channel features inspiring content focused on the grind and the benefits of nutritional enhancements." "That's branding, my friend." He sounded incredibly offended, so I had to put the phone on speaker for Larry, my dog, to witness the unfolding drama. "Listen, my friend," he went on, "we're in a difficult situation at the moment. Things are about to get better soon. I'm currently enrolled in an online course about flipping properties, and I believe it's going to create some exciting opportunities for me." I could almost sense the awakening of his third eye through the call. "You need to assist us for a bit more time," he stated, and his tone instantly transformed from a persuasive pitch to a manipulative plea in the blink of an eye. "We are united as one. Indeed, the card that represents the family. Engaged solely when financial gain or a vital organ is at stake. I had been assisting, I mentioned, for many years. You're aware of that, aren't you? I've invested a significant amount into that house. I purchased the new washer. I took care of the HVAC repairs. The roof leak has been repaired. I had to cancel my trips since my mom required someone to take her to her appointments. I put in weekend hours so my father could avoid the expense of hiring a plumber. And you, what precisely have you accomplished?" "I maintained the vibe in the house," he stated, utterly sincere. "It's referred to as emotional labor." I blinked. "Are you talking about lounging on the couch and enjoying some of Dad's snacks while watching anime?" He had the nerve to mock. "I established an atmosphere, all right? I introduced concepts into that space." "Absolutely," I mentioned, similar to the notion of putting money into Dogecoin when it was at its highest, or the thought of launching a podcast with two high school buddies who vanished after just 3 episodes. "That's not the issue," he retorted. "Your actions are quite self-centered at the moment." "Self-centered?" That one really made me take a seat. "So, you're saying I'm selfish for not keeping up with payments on a house that I can't inherit after you, and our parents decided I wouldn't receive anything from them?" "It's not about what you require," he stated. "It's all about justice." Oh, I almost lost my composure. Just. The individual who previously attempted to take legal action against a vending machine for consuming his dollar was now lecturing me on the concept of fairness? Text. "I believe we've reached the end of our conversation," I stated, and I proceeded to disconnect the call. "Come on, Alex, don't do this," he yelled. "You're behaving like a complete antagonist. They're about to lose the house. They've got you," I remarked, my tone as smooth as stone. "Their shining star. A guiding light of possibility." And then I ended the call. I believed that would be the conclusion of the matter. But no way. That was merely the first act. As the days unfolded, the messages began to arrive. From my folks. From Brandon. From my aunt in Florida, who once referred to me as the dull one because I chose books over firecrackers at Thanksgiving. The tone began courteously. "We're really hoping you'll think it over, darling." Then arrived the remorse. "We are your loved ones, and your presence is essential to us." Next comes the subtle hostility. It seems that certain individuals are primarily focused on their own interests. My favorite was the one from my mom that simply said, "Your brother is in pain." He shared a photo of himself appearing forlorn on the front steps, clutching a Starbucks cup as if it were a prop in a student film called Rock Bottom. At one point, someone, I'm assuming it was Brandon, set up a group chat called Family Unity and included me in it. Each message was a mix of emojis, financial woes, and half-formed spiritual sayings about fate and what we leave behind. They even attempted a change in strategy. Alex, we've chosen to take another look at the will, my dad messaged. We could consider the possibility of including you. Perhaps, he remarked. Like a game show prize, basic decency is dangled before us. I sent just a single message in response. Your will can remain with you. I'm holding onto my cash. Exited the conversation. Numbers have been blocked. It has remained still ever since. At this moment. But you can sense when a tempest is on the horizon, can't you? That electric hush before the storm breaks? It truly captured the essence of that night following my decision to cut ties. I found myself on the balcony, with Larry nestled beside me, observing the streetlights as they began to glow. The atmosphere was serene, excessively tranquil, the type of tranquility that makes your intuition murmur, "This is far from finished." And it truly wasn't. The following morning, I awoke to my phone vibrating incessantly. Initially, I assumed my work group chat was buzzing once more with yet another pressing meme review. However, that is not the case. This was unique. The alerts weren't messages, they were labels. My family had made it known to everyone. Honestly, I'm not really into social media. I maintain a tidy online presence, primarily keeping things private, and I've shared a mere 5 posts over the past 6 years, 4 of which feature Larry in increasingly intricate Halloween outfits. It seems my mom has just stumbled upon the feeling emotional status option on Facebook, and she was utilizing it. The first thing that caught my eye was a post from her stating, "It's incredibly difficult when the child you devoted your love and energy to turns away from you in your most challenging moments. We kindly ask for your prayers. Hashtag family first hashtag some people forget hashtag God sees all." There was an absence of a name. No direct mention. Just the right amount of subtle hostility to make it feel like a competitive event. Then there was my aunt, the one in Florida who approaches every family disagreement as if it's a scene from a reality show set in the suburbs. She added her own thoughts when sharing the post. There are individuals who seem to only understand the act of receiving, lacking the ability to offer anything in return. Happy to see I did a good job with my children. Feedback area, a battlefield. Acquaintances, members of the congregation, and individuals from my past, all offering words of encouragement such as, "Keep your head up, Deborah." Divine challenges are entrusted to those who possess the greatest strength. It's astonishing to see the lack of appreciation some young people exhibit nowadays. It disgusts me. And then, my absolute favorite, the eldest son is always the distant one. I witnessed it in the tale of 2 brothers. Indeed, someone drew a parallel between me and a biblical figure known for his infamous actions, because I chose not to continue financing a property that I was not permitted to inherit. At this point, I could have chosen to overlook it. Signed out. Chosen the noble path. But have you traveled the high road recently? It feels quite isolating and dull, and carries an air of superiority. Instead, I shared a photo of Larry beside a pile of real bills, rent, utilities, groceries, with the caption, "When your dog helps out more with household expenses than your brother does." Do not mention any names. No tags. Only good energy. That post was circulated widely. It seems like it might be a bit excessive. 2 hours later, there he was, standing at my front door. I was in the midst of brewing coffee when Larry unleashed his distinctive bark that always catches me off guard. The type that conveys, a presence is felt, and my dislike is immediate. I swung the door wide, and there he stood, wearing a hoodie and sunglasses, clutching an energy drink and a duffel bag that seemed oddly light. "Hey," he said, as if we were just about to share a fist bump and make our way to brunch. I gazed at him intently. "You have been defeated. I need to crash here," he declared, moving closer as if he intended to stroll right by me and into my home. I positioned myself in front of the entrance. "Collision? What's the reason?" "They're throwing me out," he stated. "Mother and father. Can you even imagine that? After all I've sacrificed for them." I blinked. "All of it? Are you referring to that occasion when you attempted to put up a ceiling fan and ended up drilling into a water pipe?" He brushed that aside. "They're feeling overwhelmed. Funds are limited. They mentioned that if I'm not adding value, I should look for another place to be. And I thought, you've got room." "Brandon," I remarked, pointing to the 600-square-foot apartment behind me. "Larry and I make do with a couch. There is a lack of space." He merely shrugged. "Then I shall take the stage. Let's go, buddy. I'm your sibling." Once more, it appeared. That term, as if it were a key to unlock shelter and the weight of feelings. "So, You're saying they threw you out after I handed over the whole will? He cast his gaze to the side. They mentioned that a reassessment of certain matters is necessary. So, you're here now, and what exactly do you want me to do? Provide sustenance? How are you doing? Continue covering their mortgage and include you in my grocery expenses as well? He shrugged once more, which I'm fairly certain is his go-to emotional response. I believed you would get it. You consistently handled everything with great care. I leaned in ever so slightly. Precisely. I consistently handled everything with care. And see where that led me. He remained silent. He glanced at his shoes as if they might reveal the secrets he sought. I then inquired, why not visit Aunt Linda's? She appears to believe you're the next great innovator. He let out a deep breath. Attempted. She stated there would be no room for those who take advantage without contributing. I acknowledged with a slow nod. Interesting how that operates. He moved his weight from one foot to the other. So, you're truly not going to assist me? I grinned. No, but I have nowhere to go, he said, the feigned innocence returning to his tone. Are you really going to abandon me out here? I gazed at him, truly observed him. This was the same person who once shared with me that jobs were merely enclosures equipped with vending machines. Who took my car to run errands and then vanished for the weekend. Who said I'm too uptight. Each time I declined one of his elaborate schemes. You'll work it out, I assured. Then I shut the door. Tap. Sturdy. Delightful. It's akin to fitting that last piece into a jigsaw puzzle, one that reflects only your own image. I lingered for a moment, soaking in the stillness around me. Larry gazed up at me from his place on the rug, tail wagging as if to ask, did we win? Was that a conflict? Am I getting a reward now? But then, tap tap. Absolutely. I paused for a moment. Then yet another. Perhaps he would catch on. Perhaps he would continue with the patterns he's followed throughout his existence. Become captivated by a glimmering trinket or a TikTok conspiracy and drift away. Tap tap tap. I swung the door open. Once more, Brandon stood there, arms raised as if he were directing traffic, attempting to justify why his luggage was too large for the overhead bin. All right, he proclaimed. Listen closely. I realized that our previous discussion became somewhat powerful. However, I simply require just one night. Only one. I promise I'll be out of here by dawn. I'll take a nap in the bathtub if that's what it comes to. Before I could utter a word, Larry zoomed around the corner like a fluffy projectile. Allow me to take a moment to clarify a few things regarding Larry. He's a moderately sized mixed breed, generally inconsequential. Yet he possesses the growl of a fierce guardian, the energy of an over-caffeinated child, and a deeply personal grudge against anyone who dares to elevate their voice nearby. The instant he laid eyes on Brandon, he charged at him. Larry, you understand. I began, but it was already too late. He was already on the move. Brandon emitted a yelp that wavered unexpectedly, reminiscent of a young lad experiencing the awkwardness of adolescence, but in reverse. He stumbled over his own shoes, let his empty duffel bag fall, and bolted down the hallway as if a pack of wolves were on his tail, each one in debt to him. Larry held back. He simply doesn't. He playfully pursued him, barking as if he were trying out for a dog food ad titled Justice. I stood in the doorway, observing as Brandon vanished down the stairwell, his arms waving wildly, shouting something about how I had taught my dog to despise him. I glanced down at Larry, who pranced back with pride, tongue hanging out, tail wagging as if to say, I did well, didn't I? You were incredible, I said, gently rubbing the back of his ears. You absolutely deserve every single treat. I shut the door. Once more. This time, it remained shut. For months have passed. I've cut off all contact. Parents, brother, Aunt Linda, and even that family friend who reached out to see how I was doing, but then nonchalantly suggested I might help with a small payment to get them back on track. As if I were just a strolling amusement, burdened by a sense of guilt. I updated my number, removed previous contacts, and enhanced my privacy settings. The creations. They made several more attempts. Emails, messages from temporary Facebook accounts. One particularly emotional handwritten letter from my mother that featured a scripture and a picture of Brandon appearing forlorn beside a stack of overdue bills. I chose not to respond. In time, the clamor subsided. And the stillness? It has been truly wonderful. These days, I dedicate my weekends to hiking. I began seeing someone. Larry has discovered a new favorite plaything. A plush squirrel he takes with him everywhere as if it's his own offspring. My apartment has a charming disarray, a cozy kind of mess, rather than the overwhelming chaos it once was when I was juggling my life and the relentless cycle of family turmoil. I've discovered something as well. Being the accountable one doesn't equate to being walked all over. It signifies the opportunity to create a life that isn't perpetually ablaze due to someone else's reckless actions and lack of foresight. Absolutely. They dedicated all their resources to Brandon due to his greater promise. Allow him to fulfill that expectation. I'm finished. Guess what? I've never experienced such restful sleep. And neither has he.